Discover the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and dive into the world of legendary artists. See artifacts like Michael Jackson's jacket from Thriller, handwritten lyrics from the Beatles, dresses from Tina Turner's collection, Taylor Swift's piano, and so much more. And experience the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's new SNL exhibit with iconic artifacts like the cowbell from Will Ferrell's skit, Garth and Wayne's Wayne's World outfits, and Sabrina Carpenter's outfit from her 2024 performance. For more information, go to rockhall.com/exhibitions/SNL-50-years-music.
A recent New York Times article pointed out something alarming. Fewer Black men are enrolling in college, especially at historically Black colleges and universities. So I was curious to know what's going on here in Philly with Black boys from high school to higher ed. I'm speaking with Marquise Devon Richards, Assistant Director of Upward Bound Math and Sciences at Temple University, and he's the host of Keep It a Bean, a podcast about Black masculinity, emotional learning, and social justice. And Josh O'Keene, a Philadelphia high school student, is also joining us to talk about why higher education matters and what it takes to support Black boys in college and beyond. It's Monday, July 14th. I'm Trinae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. What sparked this conversation is that, Keith, I saw something on, I think it was Instagram on your page, and you were making comments about a recent New York Times article. And this was the headline: "At Black colleges, a stubborn gender enrollment gap keeps growing." And the article really digs into the enrollment levels at four-year colleges, predominantly at historic Black colleges and universities, among Black men, and those numbers are going down. So there's a stat that I saw that it said Black men account for 26% of the students at HBCUs, down from an already low 38% back in 1976, according to the American Institute for Boys and Men. Digging into this a little bit more, Keith, what were your thoughts when you saw those low numbers? Because it goes beyond just like getting Black boys and Black men enrolled into school, because there are even greater implications for this.
Yeah. And to be honest, like, just beyond it just being a Black man issue, it's actually a man issue across the board. Like, even when I sat through 3 or 4 graduations at Temple this year, 70% were women, 30% were men. Like, that number across the board is going down. Now, when I think around the intersections of Blackness and boys, I think around that a little bit more particular, because Black boys, especially in cities, are dealing with a lot more. Not saying that other people are not, but it's like now you have to negotiate COVID's impact on Black boys. You also have to think around growing up in a city, and now the pressure for Black boys to have to become men very soon. And so when you're thinking around all of these, boys have to negotiate. Do I need to provide for my family? Is college a worthwhile investment? Because am I going to see that return in the times in which that I need to? But not only that, I think it's also just a lack of representation for them to know, like, here's a possibility, but that requires a communal buy-in as well. And so when I did see those numbers, I was like, yeah, this is a man issue overall, but I know, like, my focus is on Black men and Black boys. And so even for that, I'm like, cool. What are those mentorship spots that we could be at and be a little bit more activated in? And how are we also encouraging Black boys and men to really start looking at college as an opportunity to explore their fullness? I think oftentimes with the language that has been happening is right now, men need to get back to using their hands. So they're almost like, the larger implication is they're actually making college a gendered thing. They're no longer making it like, here's just a next step. Now it's actually, oh, if you want to think, that's a feminine trait, quote unquote. If you're not using your hands, then you're not masculine enough. College requires you to think, be reflective, internalize, and actually have to learn something new. So oftentimes, Black boys also are not always affirmed in their intellect either. And so when you're thinking around like the Black boys' trajectory, a lot of the time, a lot of it is like, well, what are you using all that height for? Oh, could you be playing a sport? Should you focus on some other stuff? But in reality, and that's what we sell a lot of our kids, or we're like, hey, go to the military, you need discipline. So when we're looking at every other option but college as a way to like focus in on our language, we're actually doing a detriment because now we're going to see economically Black boys who will ultimately become Black men may not have as much economic mobility, and they're going to have less opportunity to be able to have some of these social and emotional development skills that we're actually severely lacking right now.
All right. So I also wanted to dig in, like, what's going on with our Black boys in the school district of Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that 74% of Black male students graduated within 4 years of entering high school in the 2022-2023 school year. And then when we talk about college matriculation, got to get that word in, college matriculation, 38% of Black male students enrolled in college after graduating high school in the 2023-2024 academic school year. That seems like low numbers, Keith. What's going on?
Yeah, because by the time you're getting to college, you're looking at different options now, right? In between space of like, oh, I just graduated from high school and then I want to go to college and then I want to also graduate. Oftentimes, like a lot of Black men are like, I don't know if I actually see myself here. So oftentimes we're not actually thinking around what is the race-based stress that Black men are experiencing in particular, because there has not been an affirming language for Black men in these spaces, because a lot of Black men's representation sadly falls into the realm of sports, right? And so when you're thinking around like academic achievement, they're not actually looking at that, and those supports for Black students and first generation students are actually being cut. And so those are the spaces where most times it's not around like, I don't feel like I can do it. Some Black boys don't think that they can follow through with college because it feels too hard. And like, you feel like you're in this by yourself, because as men, we tend to silo ourselves out and not lean into community. But the other piece is absolutely this idea that there's no community. And that's actually the biggest reason that Black men and Black boys are not going through college. It's a lack of community is what's cited most. And then it becomes the academic achievement and feeling like I can do this thing.
Okay, so if I am a student listening to this episode, I mean, what types of support should I be looking for when I'm thinking about pursuing higher education?
Depends on the school that you go to. So there are smaller institutes that have first year experiences. And then there are some programs dedicated to helping out Black and Brown students first and foremost. And also find those social spaces that also affirm your identity. So if you can find a Black men's wellness group or a Black student union, or find in a community that you feel like you're a part of. For example, there are plenty of communities for Black boys in STEM. There are scholarships. There are communities that are doing this because there's not enough representation to know, like, hey, this is what I can do too, and this is who I can be.
Okay, Josh, you're a high school student. What are your hopes for college?
I think that I am looking for a space where, well, firstly, is diversified. I think that I have no issue at all being surrounded with people that don't look like me, while I would love to be with people that look like me, of course. I'm also looking for somewhere that has my major.
And what's your major?
So I want to go into architectural engineering. At first, it was architecture, but I think that after a little bit of reflection, I can't really draw too well. But I think I do have a strong sense in math and like science and physics and all that. So I think that backing up the architecture and like, you know, building houses and all that with actual structure of the house would be something I would be interested in. As for a place for college, I would not mind going into the city. I think I am a city boy. So
Agreed.
you're right. So I would want a place where, you know, there's a lot of people, easy transportation around the city.
Nice. And I'm curious, Josh, how did you get interested in college as an option after high school? Was it a mentor? Was it someone in your family who encouraged you to think about college? Or was it sort of an event you attended?
So college is something that runs in my family. My dad went to college. My mom had a little bit of college. My sister went to college. Even before, you know, being born, I was destined to go to college.
I feel that. I feel that. Sometimes there's like this kind of like age old conversation or debate in our families or even amongst ourselves. We say, okay, what is life going to be like after high school? Should I go to college? Should I just get right into the workforce? Should I learn a trade, join the military? Keys, what's your take? How should students approach this question?
Yeah, I think exploring with curiosity. I think oftentimes we want 18-year-olds to like have their all the life answers, and the reality is it's not going to be linear. So something I always encourage a lot of my students is to explore the idea of like what kind of life do you want to live? And so I ask them, do you want to live in a city? Are you somebody who likes working with people? Are you somebody who wants to travel? Do you want to work from home? Do you want to work by yourself? But as I go through this kind of imagination question with a lot of the students, it kind of starts to refine like, okay, maybe I want to do something that's a little bit more active. Maybe I do want to do something that might require a little bit more research. Do I want to stay in school that long? Am I trying to get 4 years and get out? Right. So like whenever I think around like weighing out your different options, I think around one, what are you passionate about? And what are you willing to be able to do in life that you're just like, oh, okay, yo, I love this thing. Like I went to school for broadcast journalism and I went to school for theater. I was a double major. And so like, I was like, oh, I'm going to do something that I'm excited about. Like, let's do this. Little did I know, like these skills would actually transfer over to the work I've done in education and content creation and all of that stuff. And then also like, do you just want to experience something different? I'm the middle of 5 kids and I'm the only one in my family to graduate from college with a 4-year degree and then also from high school. So like that to me also is important to kind of note like, oh, here's what college did for me because it's something I've wanted to pursue.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
I'm also thinking even about my experience at college as well. And, you know, Josh, you brought something up that made me think about like, who else is in the classroom with me? Keith, did you have other Black students and mentorship when you were in college? Because I did.
Ooh, yes, there were. And like I got with the BSU very quickly. So,
and that is the Black Student Union at your college.
Black Student Union. Yeah. So I thought that was like a very important piece to kind of like engage in because for me, similar to Josh's answer, actually, I was just like, oh, I grew up in Reading, Pennsylvania. So like, that's very much so very multicultural. I was like, I grew up with Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Black people, Haitians. It was across the gamut. So I was like, so used to like such a multicultural experience. But getting to college is the first time I dealt with like rich white people. But not only just that, it was also like class was a very different thing. So it was actually very important for me to get grounded with some Black folks, but also was just like, I could talk to a wall. So I just wanted to get to know other people. But definitely like as I returned to self, I had friends across all races, but especially because I was still in college during Trump's first election. And so that was also like a very big experience that made me even just be like, oh, I need more than ever. I want to be amongst my people because I didn't know what that was going to be like, especially in a PWI in central Pennsylvania.
PWI, predominantly white institution. Mm-hmm.
Correct.
We've got more on this conversation after the break. Did you know that jazz legend John Coltrane moved to the Strawberry Mansion section of North Philly as a child? Or that the iconic Divine Lorraine Hotel earned its name when Father Divine transformed it into the first racially integrated hotel in the city? This July, discover the powerful stories that shaped a neighborhood at the North Philadelphia History Festival, happening July 24th through the 27th. It's 4 days of free events, exhibits, live music, film screenings, performances, and community conversations, all celebrating the rich African-American and Puerto Rican cultural legacy of North Philadelphia. The North Philadelphia History Festival is organized by Scribe Video Center, with lead support provided by the William Penn Foundation. Join Scribe this July 24th through 27th at various sites throughout North Philadelphia. Learn more at scribe.org/NPHF. That's scribe.org/NPHF.
Got some good news for your ears. More of that good stuff is coming up. And even better news for your hair. The best hair care is at Sephora. They've got all kinds of products for every kind of hair. From brands like Amika, Kerastase, Day, and K18. You knew where to get great audio. Now, you know where to get great hair care too. Sephora, good news for great hair. Shop hair care now at Sephora.com.
Marquise, tell me about your work in education. How'd you get into this field?
So my best friend Amanda was like, hey, Keith, there's a job out at Penn if you want to like work with students over the summer. It's a STEM and social impact program called SMASH. From there, I fell in love with teaching by accident. I had a really good knack for working with kids. I really realized that I'm not a task oriented person, but I'm a purpose driven person. And so the idea of like youth development was important to me, but also recognizing seeing a bunch of Black and brown students who had the opportunity to engage with resources to learn around augmented reality, machine learning, data visualization. I was like, oh, this is mad cool. And for me, I was just like, oh, I've actually never had a Black teacher until like my senior year of college. And so like for me, went from SMASH to working in the after school space. So I worked at SLA Bieber and then also Paul Robeson High School. Was like the OST out of school time is like a really fun space. But I was like, can I do more? And so that's when I decided I wanted to go into teaching. So I was the 7th grade paraprofessional. That's where I ended up meeting Josh when I was first worked at an official school in like a teacher capacity. And then I ended up being like a lead 5th grade ELA teacher. And then was just like, oh, I need more time and space. And so the college access space became open to me. So now I work in higher ed. And so college access felt like a much more focused in piece of work that I got to do and have a particular kind of impact. But even more so like, oh, college changed my life. So how can I provide that same opportunity for young people coming up in the same kind of space?
I love that. So now you're at Temple University and you are the assistant director of Upward Bound Math and Sciences. Upward Bound is a federally funded program which supports low income and first generation college students graduate from high school, enroll in college, and graduate from higher education. Are you worried about the Trump administration cutting funding in this program?
Yeah, they're keeping us updated every other week just to let us know the status of the funding and whatnot. I am kind of worried about it, but also this is a bipartisan legislation piece as well. This has helped out many first generation college going Americans. So for us, the hope is like, let's keep this as bipartisan as possible because this is something across the board, Democrats and Republicans, leftists and whatever, have all agreed like this is an actual need. And so at least for now, that external funding should be safe, assuming that everybody does what they need to do.
And for those who may not know a lot about Upward Bound, what sorts of programming do you all have for students?
So we focus a lot on academic achievement and support, but also college exposure. And so what we are able to provide through our program is high impact tutoring, but also undergrad students who get to serve as mentors to current high school students as well. So not only are you getting the academic achievement part, but you're also getting the social emotional learning part to it as well. The other important piece to note is like we're taking students on college tours. So we're taking them to different states. We're preparing them for their following year's classes, but also just exposing them and saying like, hey, here's the potential of what college could look like. And just opening that space for them. And then we also assist in FAFSA because parents are like, what do they need my social security number for? What do they need to know my... And so we're able to kind of serve as like those counselors when some schools are overwhelmed, but also having that opportunity to really like engage in a more intimate one-to-one kind of space.
Philly is a city of higher education. The Community College of Philadelphia, Temple University, University of Pennsylvania, Drexel University, LaSalle University, Thomas Jefferson University, and there's a host of other colleges and universities in our greater Philadelphia area. Josh, you said that you want like a city environment. Do any of those colleges like spark your interest, or are you interested in going to any of the Philly schools?
So I really had to like sit down and go through what has my major and all that. But I know that Drexel is definitely up there for at least Philly schools. And I think that Temple would be a like safety school. I think that as for, UPenn is down here. I don't think I want to apply to UPenn. There's a lot of stress when it comes to Ivy Leagues. And I don't know if I am willing to put myself in that predicament.
What do you mean?
Yeah, that's real.
So I go to Central right now and I'm in the IB course. So it's like kind of the most rigorous course that Central has to offer. And I've seen how like from freshman year doing regular courses to like now doing hard courses, it takes a mental toll. And to go to a Ivy after just completing 2 years of this program, I think that my mind would want to explode. But I think that Ivies also have like, you kind of you have to be good, you know? And like if you're going to an Ivy, I don't know, there's a stigma to it. For me personally, from what I've seen.
Well, I think if you're able to handle the high school level, I think you can do college.
That's another thing. I feel like there's always the possibility of being able to do it, but then it's like, do you want to? You know?
But that's actually something I hear a lot. And I think it's like the coolest thing around like younger Gen Z specifically is like, oh, am I willing to put myself through this level of stress? Like that is actually a consideration. I didn't actually think around that when I was going to college.
Neither did I. I didn't even know I had that agency.
Yeah. But I think that's actually really cool because it's almost like, yeah, Ivy Leagues are cool, but I actually know the amount of stress that comes with that and the actual dropout rate that's actually going along with that as well. And so, Josh, like one, I also just want to take this time to like commend you for having that level of self-awareness of like,
thank you.
That's fine and all, but if I can get an equal education with less stress, I'm gonna take that option too, which I think is like good to have that self-awareness. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What more can the city or even like state government do to address this overall issue? How can we get more Black boys and men enrolled into colleges that represent them or colleges where they see themselves as being successful?
Oh, that's a big question. But the first thing that comes to mind is also making sure we're not taking funding away from those after school spaces. I don't think that people actually realize the importance of like, hey, I have like this cool space when I'm in class most of the day, but also to utilize the school as a third space for young people who are interested in wanting to go to college. And so oftentimes we have a lot of nonprofits who are doing a lot of really good college access work, but they're all pulling from the exact same grants. And so whenever those grants are going dry, then they are not able to support as many students. But if you really think around from a city level, they can actually do some really good work in terms of like intentionally putting funds into 21st century programs, into college access programs, and really redirecting it there. Because not only that covers most issues that we're seeing within the city that feel important, especially as we're thinking around gun violence and things that are going on with our young people. That 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock range is when a lot of this stuff is beginning to happen, right? There are some outliers that happen, but if we're thinking particularly with young people, that's when a lot of this is going on. So if we have a third space where kids are able to go and be able to like engage in meaningful work and give young 18, 19, 20, 24, some year olds an opportunity to mentor young people, that actually will help out a lot more. Because not only are they getting a third hot meal of the day, they're also in a space that's contained. And if a parent works 9 to 5, instead of sending their kid on a train, they can actually pick their kids up from the schools now, right? And so I think like it's lofty, but I think we sometimes overcomplicate this when I'm just like the actual thing in itself is like create those third space. I had an Olivet's Boys and Girls Club that inspired me a lot of time. I had access to trio programs when I was younger. I think if we continue to replicate those systems that worked for us when we were younger, and still have more access to like grants, opportunities, and all of that stuff, that'll one, encourage more people, but college won't feel as daunting for many folks either. Because there are resources out here. It's just that it's all spread thin.
Interesting. So what other resources are available to Philadelphia families?
Yeah. So for example, like at Temple, we have this center called Create, and it's the Center for Reimagining Excellence, Transformation, and Education. And I think like most of these universities actually have a lot of centers that are open to the public. There's a makerspace on Penn's campus. There's Altech on Temple's campus. There are a lot of these spaces, but I just don't think that a lot of people know that they're there. You also have some place like the Eco Foundation out in West Philly that does a lot of work as well. So shout out to Kyle, the conductor, who's doing some really cool work. But then you can go all the way up to Alany, and then you have the Treehouse. And so that's also another space where people can get assistance. We Love Philly for students who are not good at taking tests. That's also an option for them who is like, hey, I'm not doing too well in my Keystones. Can I find an alternative opportunity to graduate? So by doing a co-op, that's also going to satisfy a graduation requirement. So not all of us are the best test takers, but I am good with my hands, right? And so it is really starting to think around those spaces that are already doing the work, but may not be as amplified as they need to.
Great. And Josh, do you do any like programs or after school clubs or anything like that?
I'm a part of Central's track team. That's like an everyday thing. So like most of the time it's school, practice, and straight home. And practice ends around like 5:30ish. So I'm getting home around like 6:30ish. And yeah, that takes up most of my times after school.
Now I understand why you said the Ivy League option might be a little too much.
Right.
Sounds good. And Keys, before we wrap up, any last words or anything that you're like, I gotta mention this before we sign off?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's continuous, like as a community, just continue to invest in our Black boys. A lot of this information, a lot of it goes down to like, how are we showing up and talking about our boys in these spaces? We tend to have Black boys grow up faster than I need to. But in reality, if we continue to speak life into their intellect, their creativity, their athletic endeavors, their academic achievement, like all of that is actually like super important. And so like for me, it's cool to see Josh grow up because I was like, dog, I met you when you were like 11 or 12. And so like, but to see him now, like that to me is a testament to what happens when people are invested in a child's future and making sure that they are able to be protected as much as possible and still experience life, right? And so for me, continue to invest in your third spaces here in Philly, continue to push locally for them to make sure they're investing in these spaces. Check out what 21st century laws are looking like and how they are actually supporting the young people. Fight for TRIO, write letters to your Congress folks and all of that good stuff, because those are ways to stay active, but also recognize like these things are important. If we want our kids to be able to go to school, if we want to really support the Black boy up to and through college, that it does require a different level of community investment and ensuring that they understand that we have their back all the way through it.
All right. That was Marquise and Josh. Thank you both so much for just chatting with me on CityCast Philly today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this was really dope. I appreciate it. Josh, it's good to see you.
That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. Listen, if you know anyone who could really use some of these resources that we talked about on the episode, please share this link. Also, rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye.